What's up, everybody? And today we're reacting to how Yemeni rebels are wrecking the global economy. This is by Caspian Report. As always, there'll be a link down below to the original video in the description. It'll be the first link in the description. Go over there, show some love. Apparently, this is an absolutely fantastic video, fantastic YouTube channel. Go over there and give it some love before anything else. If you don't want me yapping over the top of it with my kind of expertise of being a former Royal Marines commando in this area, if you don't want that extra dialogue on top of it, then go over to the original video, okay? I'm going to try and give you my thoughts on it. This is obviously a very new, big kind of scenario that's going on with these Houthi rebels, causing a lot of havoc, creating another, I don't know what you want to call it, another situation, right? We've got Russia and Ukraine, we've got Israel and Palestine. Now we've got this going on as well with the Houthi rebels just absolutely pissing about. I think it's important for me to give a bit of dialogue on my thoughts on it, and I think people have been asking for that. This is the video everyone's been sending me. It's as you'll be watching this, it's 9 days old. New things might have happened, but I think this is a good overview of everything. I'm hoping it is. I've been told it is. And we'll go through it. We'll talk about it, and I'll give you some of my experience of being in that area on ship. I have been in that area on ship. That's what I did in the Royal Marines Commandos, and I feel like it'll give a little bit more context. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to help with the YouTube mysterious algorithm that no one knows about. And other than that, let's shut up, make sure subtitles on, and let's watch this, shall we?
Conflict is the crucible of change. Since early December, Houthi rebels have strangled one of the most strategic ocean waterways for international trade. Vessels have been boarded, missiles have been fired, and drones have been deployed.
So I just want to preface this as well. This came out 9 days ago when you're watching it. It was a couple days ago that they hit an American tanker, a transport vessel. They hit one. No one was hurt. And I don't know whether this video was before or after the US and the UK have retaliated in some way. I'm pretty sure. The US especially threw some bombs in there, I'm pretty sure. So let's just preface that things might have updated since this video came out, okay?
Simultaneously, the navies of the world, including the US Navy, have been slow to react.
Yeah, I don't think they've been slow.
Global maritime trade has been severely disrupted.
I don't think they've been slow. I think the US is looking at the situation and is trying to be as careful as possible. There's a lot of very delicate things going on in the world right now, and it definitely feels like it's the West versus the East, right? It definitely feels like them tensions, Israel, Palestine, Russia, Ukraine, China's kicking off, and you've got ideas that they might want to take back Taiwan. It's a very delicate situation right now. I don't think they're being slow. I think they're trying to be calculated and figure out what to do here.
The world's largest container shipping companies have stopped shipments through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea.
Yeah.
The US Navy has moved a carrier strike group from the Persian Gulf into the Gulf of Aden. At the same time, a new 10-country naval task force is being set up to protect shipping in the region, but the Americans don't want to get tied up in the Yemeni proxy conflict.
Yeah.
Still worse, the neighboring powers have inconsistent interests. Egypt's economy is in pain, Iran is looking for new leverage, Saudi Arabia has a ceasefire with the Houthis, China is gloating to see the US Navy stretched thinly, and the UAE wants to escalate things, but doesn't want to get its hands dirty.
This kicking off with the Houthi rebels is only benefiting everyone that doesn't like the West. It's only benefiting them. It's the truth.
Broadly speaking, the Red Sea is a confluence of geography, economics, technology, and geopolitics. The Houthis have now declared American ships as targets and are looking to use force, but they're poking the hornet's nest.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to do is threaten the US Navy with a good time.
It's true. Don't threaten the US Navy, because they will come into party. I'll tell you that right now. Caspian Report. I've never seen this YouTube channel before. Let's give it some love, guys, alright?
Today's video is sponsored by Conflict of Nations. a free online strategy game where
I
you choose a
am
must
going
go
to skip that real
uninterrupted.
quick, though.
Around 80% of international trade goes by sea, and ships must reach their ports as expeditiously and as cost-effectively as possible.
Yep.
However, ships are most vulnerable when passing through narrow passages. The Red Sea is one such passage. It is defined by two...
It's the most dangerous passage. It is. And it's a vital passage because that's India, China, and everything in the West into Europe. At the moment, everything's going to have to go all the way around Africa to get to it. That's what's happening right now, which is not a vibe.
Two choke points: the Suez Canal to the north and the Bab al-Mandab Strait to the south. About 12% of global trade goes by this route,
Yeah.
accounting for about 20% of international container traffic.
That's a lot.
Also noteworthy, roughly 10% of the world's maritime oil and 8% of liquefied natural gas is shipped through the same route.
Think about how many resources go through that route and it's kicking off. That's dangerous for the economy in any country in the West.
However, Houthi rebels from Yemen have put a stop to that by using missiles, drones, and fast attack ships. At its narrowest point, the Bab al-Mandab Strait is about 29 kilometers wide, and that is where the raids have taken place. So far, the Houthis have directly targeted at least 12 commercial vessels transiting the region, firing over 100 drones and missiles at ships from more than a dozen countries.
Yeah, that's
The
not a vibe.
Houthis, who are backed by Iran, say the attacks are in solidarity with the Palestinians. But the maritime blockade is also a geopolitical leverage for Iran vis-à-vis America and Israel.
It is. It's definitely a way for them to kind of... It's a way just to chip away at the West, isn't it? It's a thing to kind of get noticed. And I get that Israel-Palestine is such a delicate situation right now. It feels like you can't even talk about it without someone attacking you. And what Iran is doing by... They're kind of like stoking the fire, aren't they? And I think what it is, right... Iran's supporting the Houthi rebels to do this stuff. I think Iran is getting a bunch of kind of pats on the back by Russia, by China, by all these countries that really want to see the West fall. I think they're like backing the Houthis via Iran, and they're just kind of like stoking the fire more and more and more. And it's not that they don't want a ceasefire, which I'm sure a lot of them do. I think more they're using the Israel-Gaza, the Israel-Palestine situation to their advantage. Like, they're taking advantage of it. Does that make sense? I'm sure a lot of people do have good intentions, but I reckon there's a lot of them leaders that are like, all right, we can use this right now to be the good guys and say we're the good guys and take advantage and cause some havoc and take a big old chip out of the West. I guarantee it.
For added context, Iran's other proxy, Hezbollah, has at least 130,000 rockets and missiles aimed at Israel.
Yeah.
But Iran cannot employ Hezbollah's firepower to attack Israel, since doing so would open Pandora's box and result in the American bombardment of Iran.
Yeah.
Therefore, instead of Hezbollah, Iran has chosen to retaliate by other means. The Red Sea is a place where the Iranians have gained substantial power in recent years owing to the Houthis.
Yep.
So, this is as close to the game of geopolitical chess as it gets. Regardless of the strategic...
You have to admit, it's pretty smart by Iran. It is pretty smart. It's annoying. That's what it is. It's annoying. It's a cheap blow, innit?
Maneuvering, the Houthi attacks are an affront to the freedom of navigation and compel economic powerhouses to reconsider global supply chains. In response to the maritime blockade, 4 of the world's 5 largest container shipping companies have suspended shipping through the Red Sea. These include Denmark's Maersk, France's CMA CGM, Germany's Hapag Lloyd, and Switzerland's MSC. Together, these companies account for more than 50% of global container shipping capacity.
Damn.
Multinational British Petroleum is stopping shipments through the Red Sea as well. If other energy firms join the call, oil and gas supplies could be in severe trouble.
So the prices will go up for us, the consumers. As someone from the West, obviously that's what you automatically think about. You don't want prices to go up. It will be a massive kind of target on the back of any of the elections that are going on right now, because 2024 is going to be giant for elections. The US election's going to go on. The British have got elections going on. The EU has elections going on, right? There's so many big elections going on around the world, and it feels like Iran, China, and Russia know that this is the best time for this to happen, because it's really going to mess things up. And if gas prices go through the roof, that's a massive talking point in any election, right? But at the same time, on top of all that crap, there are other people who are suffering because of this as well. Like Egypt's economy is really in a bad shape because of this. So there's other people who are getting caught in the crossfire.
Container ships making runs between Europe and Asia are getting reacquainted with the Cape of Good Hope, which had been largely obsolete since the opening of the Suez Canal more than 150 years ago. However, this detour adds about 7,400 kilometers and up to 14 days of travel time to the journey, costing millions of dollars in extra fuel and other insurance and auxiliary costs.
We'll be paying that.
Since the start of the crisis, the US Navy has moved the Dwight D. Eisenhower-led aircraft carrier and its task force into the Gulf of Aden. Now, Washington is mustering an international armada to reassure shipping companies and deter the Houthi blockade. But universal commitment is brittle. Britain has agreed to deploy ships, but France, Italy, and Spain have rejected the operation. Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates are also notably absent.
Well, they don't want to get involved. At the end of the day, if America's involved, no one else really needs to. The reason the British are there is because the British and Americans are always hand in hand, aren't we? Like, if something kicks off with America, Britain's going to get involved. Something kicks off with Britain, America's going to get involved. It's only it's rare that it doesn't. I mean, think of some of the conflicts where it didn't happen. The Falklands War, Vietnam. You could probably name it on one hand the amount of things that we haven't been involved with together. And so if the US is going to go down there and sort shit out, Britain's going to be like, fuck yeah, we're coming down with you.
China,
Bezzy
which
friends.
has warships in its base in Djibouti, is not part of the coalition either. What is left is not much of a task force.
Yeah.
Each party has its own motives for rejecting the US-led operation. One of the reasons is the costs. Western naval forces use highly expensive equipment to fend off cheap drones.
Yeah.
The French recently fired an Aster 15 surface-to-air missile worth more than $1 million to shoot down a Shahed-type drone costing barely $20,000.
Yeah, I get that.
That is not a sustainable way of combat.
America don't give a shit, though, do they? Let's be honest, they're like, fuck it, let's just blow everything up.
When you employ $1 million weapon to kill a budget drone, it's really the budget drone that makes the kill.
Yeah.
In sum, Western navies were not designed to repel the type of threat posed by the Houthis. Then again, a drone damaging a commercial ship would cost just as much as $1 million weapon.
Yeah.
So there are considerations from all angles, and that's what makes this battle space so complicated. Overall, America's naval task force, dubbed Operation Prosperity Guardian, will increase security near the Bab al-Mandab Strait as it escorts ships through the region. But that's still not good enough for commercial enterprises.
God, if you're on them boats going through that canal now, because there are some going through it, if you're like doing maritime security on them boats, you're going to be bricking it, aren't you? You're going to be 50p, 5p, aren't you, the whole way through?
Escorting vessels through a narrow passage would bring forth logistical complications and dangers.
Yeah.
This is because joining a convoy would require ships to congregate in the Red Sea or the Arabian Sea, which would make them easier targets for the Houthis. Though relatively small, the Houthis possess formidable and cheaply manufactured anti-ship ballistic missiles capable of flying 1,400 kilometers.
That's the thing, that can just disrupt everything, can't they? When I was out there, it was mostly keeping an eye on anti-piracy. That's mostly what we did. It was never ever the worry about a bomb going off near us. It was never about a missile. Never. We never even mentioned it. It was never even on our mind. especially for us Royal Marines at the end of the day. For us, our job is, you know, getting up close and dirty, and that's mostly anti-piracy.
These types of missiles travel at higher altitudes and greater speeds than cruise missiles, and therefore extend the range at which the Houthis can strike ships. As such, flocking commercial ships into one space would make them an easy target, like shooting ducks in a barrel. Moreover, the shipping industry is currently still reeling from the COVID-19 breakdown in logistics. As a result, insurance costs for shipping in the Red Sea have jumped from 0.07% of a ship's value to as much as 0.7%. That is a tenfold increase in just 1 month.
Yeah.
Plus, considering that oil tankers are valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars, this increase in insurance premiums makes shipping in the Red Sea.
Pause that. Look at that graph. Let me move my head out of the way. Look at that graph. So the blue is freights from the Middle East Gulf to the UK, and then the red is from the Middle East to the Mediterranean. Look at that. Woo! Move my head all the way out of the way here. Holy. That's nuts, innit?
Exceedingly expensive. For instance, a tanker valued at $130 million will have an insurance premium of $910,000, whereas before it was $91,000. That is a steep climb, to put it nicely.
Yeah, it's a very steep
instead,
climb.
shipping giants are considering going around the southern coast of Africa.
It makes sense.
Even if that route is longer.
It makes complete sense.
This workaround is simply deemed more practical and cost-effective than risk damage through the convoy.
Yeah.
To reassure shipping giants and restore maritime security, the Biden administration is considering more extensive military operations against Houthi targets on the mainland.
Well, I'm pretty sure since this has come out, the British and the Americans have gone in and torn a few people apart, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure the US has led some attacks already. I need to double check on that though. Don't quote me on that. I need to double check on that.
However, doing so would come at the expense of power projection elsewhere. China and Russia in particular would watch the conflict unfold gleefully.
Yep, they would.
To put things into perspective, the Houthis are a minority Shia Muslim sect in northern Yemen. They first emerged as a rebel group fighting the federal government in the 1990s. However, following the Arab Spring protests in 2012, Yemen's federal government was overthrown. The Houthis received substantial funding and weaponry from Iran and moved swiftly to consolidate their newfound power. Since 2014, they've controlled the capital, Sana'a, but are generally not recognized by the international community as Yemen's legitimate government.
Yeah.
Regardless, the Houthis control an estimated 1/3 of Yemen's territory and about 70% of its population.
Whoa!
Much of the
70% of its population? I did not know that. That's a big statistic right there, especially if the US and the UK are going to go in and start bombing shit. Wow.
Paid little attention to the conflict in Yemen, and now it's about to get a reality check. Egypt's cash-strapped government will likely feel the brunt of the economic burden. It earns nearly $10 billion annually from transit fees passing through the Suez Canal.
Not anymore, it does.
With the Houthi blockade in effect, maritime traffic along the Suez Canal has likewise come to a halt.
Yep.
This hurts Egypt's economic stability and possibly its political stability. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is noticeably absent from the ongoing crisis. The Saudis have been combating the Houthis since 2015, but as the rebel armaments have gotten louder and stronger, the Saudis have backed down from the fight. Equally important, the Saudis are resentful towards the Americans for their half-hearted response to the Houthi attacks on Saudi oil facilities. In reply,
it just seems like all this is going against America and the UK, doesn't it? It just seems like, and I've said this in one of the previous videos, all this stuff happening right now, it feels like 1930, like we're on the brink of something massive. Like I said, we've got Russia invading Ukraine. We've got Israel and Palestine kicking off. We've got the Houthis doing this. The Suez Canal shutting down. massive elections around the West. It just seems like, I don't know, it could be the brink of something. We've got China saying they want to get Taiwan back. We've got this new president of Argentina messing about saying he wants the Falklands Islands. Like, there's a lot of this. It just seems like we're on a tipping point. Let me know if you feel the same way.
The Saudi leadership has hosted numerous rounds of peace talks with their Houthi counterparts as they look to detach themselves from the Yemeni battle space. So this time around, the Saudis figure they're going to be spectators instead. On the other end of the peninsula, the United Arab Emirates supports a different faction in the Yemeni conflict. And since the Houthis are located at a comfortable distance, the Emiratis still consider Yemen as available real estate and are ready to fight for it. They just don't want to do the fighting part.
Yeah.
Instead, Emirati agents are lobbying lawmakers in Washington to greenlight American military actions against Houthi facilities and bases.
Lobbying has got to be one of the worst fucking things ever invented, hasn't it? It's destroyed a lot of stuff in America and the UK, lobbying. It's an absolute joke that that's even allowed to happen in 2024. Lobbying politicians, paying them off. Ugh.
All is fair in business and war. Overall, though, international maritime trade is a profoundly complex web. The Houthi blockade comes at a time when the European economies have moved away from Russian oil and gas and instead increased their seaborne energy imports, much of it coming from the Middle East and passing through the Red Sea.
Russia's going to be giggling at this. They're probably supporting Iran along with China, and Iran is supporting the Houthis. It's just, they're sat there with the biggest smile on their face right now.
So, the longer the Houthi blockade lasts, the more severe consequences there will be for Europe and the commitments in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So far, America's International Naval Task Force has left the Houthis undeterred, if only because of their physical distance from the fight and backing from Iran. In all good chance, the Houthis will continue their attacks so long as there is no significant blowback. In fact, the Houthis may feel empowered since the blockade has strengthened their geopolitical hand.
Something's got to give.
The Houthis and Iranians know that the United States doesn't want to get dragged into the Yemeni proxy conflict.
Before all this even kicked off, it was incredibly tense around there already. Like when I was on ship, it was just so tense in the Middle East. So tense. And for this to be happening as well, I bet the lads on these ships that are out there in the US, the UK, and the rest that are out there, Canada, I bet it's just the tension is through the roof. Because it's all it's going to take is one action of someone to kick off. And before you know it, we've got a new Iraq-Afghan war going on. Guarantee it.
The Houthis have a decentralized structure. There is no single target or asset that could degrade their capacity for warfare. So, fighting the Houthis would be an extended operation with no end in sight. That
sounds familiar, doesn't it? That sounds very familiar.
The Americans crave at this point in time, if only because Russia and China are more urgent priorities and the United States will need all its strength to keep those two at bay.
Yep.
However, things could quickly turn around if a Houthi attack results in American casualties.
Yeah.
Biden would be forced to take severe retaliatory measures, carrying unintended and unpredictable consequences. But even short of that, the Houthi attacks in the Red Sea risk wrecking the global economy if left unaddressed. The key to this crisis is Iran, and it always has been.
Iran,
the Houthi funding,
they're definitely getting funded by other people, and they're definitely playing with fire here, aren't they?
weaponry, and even tactics all originate from the Iranians.
Yeah.
They've been a loyal proxy for Iran and its cause. The Houthis literally adopted Tehran's battle cry, "Death to the US, death to Israel," as their official slogan. However, the trouble with loyalty to a cause is that, more often than not, the cause will betray its followers.
Yeah.
I've been your host Shirvan from Caspian Report. Thank you for watching, and Sarol.
Great video. by Caspian Report. I've never seen their channel before. I thought it was an absolutely fantastic video to give us a bit of an introduction of what's going on. I'm thinking of giving updates on this. I'm thinking of kind of doing... When the Ukraine-Russia thing kicked off a while back, I did a little bit of an update video every now and again. I might do something similar with this because, firstly, it's more under my kind of jurisdiction of what I did in the Royal Marines. But at the second point is, I think that from a Western standpoint, this is just adding to the fire, and I think it's going to get worse. I really do. I hope not. I hope it de-escalates and tensions slow down. But, I don't know, something's got to give, and I feel like that's the situation. Let me know if you agree in the comment section down below. If you enjoy these videos, like, subscribe, and all that good stuff helps with that mysterious YouTube algorithm. Check out DREADNOUGHT MEADERY, the new channel me and my brother are working on, in the description as well. Other than that, I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.